Hello friends, today we're going to talk about quadratic functions that are in standard form. Last time we were talking about quadratic functions that are in vertex form. Reminder, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. A still tells us the same thing. So A tells us whether it opens up or down. And then whether it's wider, narrower, or neither. You can look back at your blue sheet if you need a reminder on what A does. First, we're going to talk about what C tells us. So if you look, we do have two graphs. You'll see as I start to move my C around. The two graphs both start with negative 2x squared plus 4x, but the purple graph is going to have a C that's moving. So pay attention to what happens. So like here, C is 3.2, and if we look at the y-intercept of our graph, it's at 3.2. Here, C is 5.7. The y-intercept of our graph is 5.7. If I move into the negatives, here, C is negative 3.3. The y-intercept of our graph is negative 3.3. So C tells us what the y-intercept is. So our y-intercept of our graph is at 0, comma, whatever C is. Remember, we have to write the y-intercept as a point. It already tells you that on your note sheet, but you might want to make a little star by it to remind yourself that that is the y-intercept of our graph. When we were doing it in vertex form, we could easily see the vertex, but not the y-intercept. In standard form, we can easily see the y-intercept, but we have to do a little bit more work to find the vertex. On your note sheet, if you don't have it yet, where it says standard form, and it tells you what the vertex is, but I'm going to write it in a different way. You should write this on your note sheet. The x value of your vertex, you want to do whatever b is, divided by negative 2 times whatever a is. You have to have the parentheses, so please make sure when you write this down that you write it down with the parentheses. And then to find the y value, just like when we were graphing in vertex form, if we know the x, we can find the y by plugging it into the equation. So we're going to plug the x value into the equation. And then, of course, our vertex is going to be a point, x comma y. So let's look at some examples here. First thing we're always going to do is write down what a, b, and c are. So in this case, A is negative 3, B is 4, and C is 1. Right away, I can write down what my y-intercept is because it's my value of C. So my y-intercept is at 0, comma 1. I can also say whether my graph opens up or down and whether it's wider or narrower. My A value is negative, so it's going to be opening down. And then remember the 3 is going to tell us whether it's wider or narrower. And since that 3 is bigger than 1, it is going to be narrower. Now let's go ahead and find the vertex. So the x value of our vertex, we do b divided by negative 2 times a. So it's going to be 4 divided by negative 2 times negative 3. If you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 0.66666.6 repeating. We cannot put that down. We have to turn that into a fraction. The easy way that the graphing calculator turns it into a fraction is if you hit the math button, which is on the far left side, the third button down, and then enter twice. That's telling the calculator, turn this decimal into a fraction for me. So if you did that, you would get that this is 2/3. To find our y value then, I plug 2/3 in for my x. So -3 times 2/3 squared, it has to be in parentheses, plus 4 times 2/3 plus 1. And if we did that and turned it into a fraction, we would get 7/3. So our vertex then is at 2/3, 7/3. The axis of symmetry, remember, is just the x value of the vertex, so it's x equals 2/3. And again, the axis of symmetry is coming from the x value of our vertex. All right, let's look at another one. A is 1, B is -3, C is -5. It may help you to write this as plus negative and plus negative. Right away, I can say my y-intercept is at 0, -5, because that's my value of C. My value of A is 1. It's positive, so it opens up. And since it's 1, it is neither wider nor narrower. Remember, if A is 1 or A is -1, it doesn't mean it's wider or narrower. It's neither. Now finding our vertex. Again, our x value is B divided by -2 times A. So -3 divided by, parentheses, -2 times 1. And that will give us 1.5. This one we can leave as a decimal because we don't have to round. That last one, it was 0.66666666, so we had a round. If you do not need a round, then you do not need to turn it into a fraction. So we'll just leave this one as 1.5. The y value then, I'll plug that into my equation for x. 1.5 squared minus 3 times 1.5 minus 5, and that gives us -7.25. So our vertex then is at 1.5, -7.25. Axis of symmetry is our x value of our vertex, x equals 1.5. Let's look at another one. In this one, A is 0.5, B is 13, C is 3.5. So I know my y-intercept is at 0, 3.5. A is positive, so it's opening up. And 0.5 is less than 1. It's between 0 and 1, which means this is going to be wider. Finding our vertex, B divided by -2 times A. So the x value, we would do 13 divided by -2 times 0.5. That will give us -13. So now I know my axis of symmetry is at x equals -13. The y value then, if I plug -13 into my original equation, 0.5 times, you have to have parentheses, -13 squared plus 13 times -13 plus 3.5. If you put that in your calculator, we would get -81. So that means our vertex is at -13, -81. All right, one more example. A is 1, B is -2, C is 3. So I know my y-intercept is 0, 3. My A is positive, so it opens up. And since my A is 1, it is neither wider nor narrower. Finding our vertex, B divided by -2 times A for our x value. So -2 divided by -2 times 1 gives us an x value of 1. So I know my axis of symmetry is x equals 1. And I'll plug that in for x into my original equation. 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 3 gives us 2. So our vertex then is at 1, 2. All right. One more. I thought that one was our last one. One more. A is negative 2. B is 12. C is negative 11. So our y-intercept is at 0, negative 11. My A is negative, so it opens down. And then when I look at the 2, since 2 is bigger than 1, it's going to be narrower. Remember, when we decide whether it's wider or narrower, we don't care about the sign. We just look at the number, so we're just looking at the 2. Vertex, B divided by negative 2 times A. So 12 divided by negative 2 times negative 2, which gives us 3 for our x value. So now I know my axis of symmetry is at x equals 3. Our y value then, negative 2 times 3 squared plus 12 times 3 minus 11. And that gives us 7. So that means our vertex is at 3, 7. And that's it. All right, so you have 9 of these to try on your own.